Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medical Trauma Support Podcast. We are talking with Jessica Craycraft of Operation Bliss today. Hi, I'm so excited to have you on. I actually learned about Jessica and Operation Bliss maybe been 2 years. It's been a while, I feel like, since I reached out to you. One of my good friends told me about Operation Bliss because they had experienced it. Operation Bliss served their family. And I just thought what y'all are doing for families is amazing. It's been great to get to know you a little bit and to have you here today. And so I thought we could kick things off by hearing about how you started Operation Bliss.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. I'm excited to be on here and just excited with what you're doing for families as well and how you're serving so many out there. Just to give you a little bit of the history of Operation Bliss, we really became 501c3 approved and a nonprofit in 2019. And it was a combination of an experience that we had with our little girl when she was 6 weeks old, along with my industry knowledge when I worked in hotels for about 18 years. But in 2014, our daughter had just been born. It was our first kiddo. Kennedy Bliss is her name. And at about 6 weeks, she had this random infection where we ended up needing to stay at the children's hospital for multiple nights as they figured out what was going on with her. And overall, and she is 10 years old now. She's a healthy little girl, and we were able to go home. But those few nights that we had experienced in the hospital and the families that I got to talk to, I remember leaving the hospital, taking our little girl home, having enough answers, not all answers, but enough answers to move forward. And I just remember thinking, like, what happens to these other families? I remember literally standing in the parking lot thinking how fortunate we were to get to leave and go back home.
Right.
But those few days felt so heavy.
Yeah.
When your kiddo is going through anything medically related, it feels so heavy. It feels isolating. It
Yeah.
feels confusing. You have fear.
Terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's the worst. We want
Yeah.
our kiddos to be healthy. And I knew that these families we were talking to, some of them weren't getting to take their kiddos home.
Yeah.
They were staying for a lot longer, or they were being referred to another hospital, or they were finding out that their child was being diagnosed with a lifelong illness or something that would completely turn their world upside down over the next few months or years or forever. And I really developed an empathy for these families and wanted to serve them somehow, but didn't know how yet. So fast forward to a couple years later, I ultimately, again, my career prior to where I'm at now, I worked in hotels for 18 years, and we were staying at a hotel, and my daughter at the time was 4. My son, we had a son then who's 2. She could not stop talking about this hotel. And you would have thought we were at Disney World, and it was a very simple hotel for just a shower that we were attending. But it dawned on me in that moment, like, kids love hotels. They are magical. Kids love that experience of getting to eat in your own bedroom or go to the buffet and have those, amenities that come with a hotel stay. And so I really started doing research to understand if there was a need for hotel stays for families who had kiddos that were undergoing intense medical treatments. And being that we're based out of Dallas, Fort Worth, we are in the backyard of a lot of amazing pediatric facilities where families are traveling in to have a 1-night stay, 2-night stay, sometimes much longer. But giving them a reason. What I really want to do is give them a reason beyond their child visiting for their medical treatment. Let's also provide something special for them.
Yeah.
And so after several years of research in 2019, we officially became Operation Bliss, where what we do is place together these magical hotel experiences for families. It could be the night before surgery. It can be on the 2-month checkup after a child's been treated for a while. It can be to celebrate that their chemotherapy treatments are finally ending. It's for various different reasons, but we set up this hotel stay. We set up gifts. We provide local activities. We cover the food and beverage that these families get to experience. And we set up this day also designed where all of the children as part of that family are getting to enjoy this experience. It's not just the child that's being treated. it's all of their siblings. They get to walk into that hotel room and feel like it's Christmas morning for them, where they all receive these fun gifts and get to just uh, connect for a couple nights as a family and enjoy time together.
Yeah. Well, I follow your Instagram account and I love seeing your posts because you share like the beds are like covered in like their favorite toys, and I do love seeing the siblings going in. They're going in with their siblings, and like everybody, like the kids are so excited. And so yeah, what will you share your Instagram handle, because I want other people to be able to see that.
Yeah, it's just at Operation Bliss, Bliss.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can find sometimes some of the families send videos if they know that there's going to be some things in there waiting. Sometimes it's photos, but I think that's something that's just remained so important to us, that we are serving again all of those children, because when a child is going through a medical journey, it's not just that one child that's
Right.
experiencing it. The other children are often um, needing to be taken care of by family members or friends while one
Yeah.
of the child their sibling is being treated. So we want to make sure that these families and these children just all feel that love and all feel that support through their journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think, as a parent of three kids, and I shared with you that another one of my children had a procedure fairly recently. And it's scary for everyone in the family. And obviously, as parents, we can try to, um, help the kids process their feelings and their fears and talk to them about everything that's going to happen. But it's still scary for the siblings too, because they love their sibling and they want good things to happen. And they, depending on what's going on with their sibling, they might see them in pain. They might see them with, the effects of being on chemotherapy and feeling really bad, and, losing their hair. It can be hard for siblings to witness that too. And, you and I've talked a little bit about how I got into medical trauma support. And it was really because I was looking for support for one of my children who'd experienced medical trauma. And my friend who told me about Operation Bliss was really a source of like support for me. And she knows what it's like to witness it. First of all, it's really challenging to witness your child in pain and know that they have to go into surgery. But then for me, it was the aftermath. It was when my child got older, and it was really challenging to even go to the doctor. I mean, really big trauma responses in doctor's offices, dentist offices, orthodontists. It was really hard. And so I was trying to find support for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find really what I was looking for. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to just jump right in, and I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do a research project, because I happened to be in a graduate program of social work at the time, when I was like, really like, okay, I have to figure something out. And
Well,
so,
and
yeah,
it's
that's
so,
really
I mean,
how
just to even like chime in on that, I think that there's so much on that I could talk there, but one of the things that I've learned over the last few years in serving and talking to so many different families who have children who are undergoing intense medical treatments is, one, when it comes to the siblings, as a mom, naturally, we want to protect our kids as best as possible. And so sometimes it's like, well, let's shorten this. Let's not explain every piece to our other children, so then we can make sure that they're not scared for them. But that's almost hard too, because like you said, the siblings are seeing that their sister or brother are changing or reacting a certain way, and but it creates a lot of confusion. And I've talked to a lot of moms who have said, you know, this is so hard on my child who's being treated, but also so hard on my other kiddos, because they're trying to relate. They want more time with us, but we're saying we've got to focus on this to try to heal
yeah,
them this way. And there's so much confusion with that. But then also to the other point of the support that's needed going into the different procedures, there's and also, excuse me, also the support after the procedures.
right.
There's a misconception, I think, oftentimes, or a misperception oftentimes, that if a child has all their hair and their hair's grown back, they are now healthy. Their cancer is gone.
Hmm.
They're good to go.
Hmm.
Or if they don't look frail, that's a healthy child. They're good to go. And something that I hear a lot from the moms that I talk to is, we are still in this. Like, just
Right.
because we don't have 3 appointments a week at the hospital doesn't mean that this is still the end of our journey. We are dealing with bones that are breaking so easily because of the treatments they went through, just
Yeah.
literally from a simple fall,
Yeah.
or the PTSD, like you talked about, the trauma that happens when a child goes to an office of any type, and it
Hmm.
reminds them of that feel of the office that they were at before when they had to receive these treatments. And
Right.
it's still this really radically hard journey for a family, even if that child looks healthy again. And I
Right.
think that that's something that's so important for everybody to remember, is when your friend has a kiddo who's gone through treatments, once the treatment's over, there's a celebration piece to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Great. We don't have to go to the hospital 3 or 4 times a week, but
Right.
there's still a lot to come. These
Yeah.
kids are still thinking through all of those things that happened in the past and all the times that they were poked and prodded, and that's hard. That's
Yeah.
really hard. So to be able to be a support and have these kids also know, like, you're totally normal for feeling this.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's really the space that I'm working in, right? Is that space of um, people who have experienced medical trauma, and what is a daily thing that they're struggling with is the PTSD.
Mhm.
And I shared a little bit with you earlier that I work a lot with adults who have experienced medical trauma, but the reason I first got into this was because I was looking at, okay, how could I have done things differently to support him, and not in any way like being mean to myself about it, but I really knew nothing. I knew
Mhm.
nothing about medical trauma. I didn't understand, like I wasn't fully equipped on how to prep him emotionally before, even though he was very young. I think that you can still prepare them in an age appropriate way. I didn't know about that. I also didn't have the knowledge and skills that I have developed to help right after the procedure. Um, and also, really a huge part of it for parents is taking care of themselves too, and
Mhm.
knowing, like, um, so I went through all of that. I basically created in this independent study in my graduate program a handout for parents, like a not hand, but like a little handbook. I mean, there's a lot, and so there's preparing your child and really yourself. That's a huge part, is preparing yourself before the procedure. Ways to be with them while you're there, right? We're typically not there during the procedure, but we're there before, and then we're there after.
Mhm.
And ways that we can be with them in really like body based kind of ways to be with them after the procedure, to really try to minimize and ideally prevent. It's not always possible, but to really minimize as much as we can PTSD from the experience.
Mhm.
Um, so that the whole thing of like supporting families when their kids are going through medical experiences is like very near and dear to my heart. And it's why I created the handbook. And that reminds me that I really need to like share that more, because
Yes. Yes.
it's been a while since I've done that,
I
since I
think it's so
shared it.
crucial. Again, there's so much focus often on surgery day, right? Like
Right.
and I am absolutely guilty of this. If I have a friend whose child is being treated, it's like, okay, I am going, I got you on surgery day. I'm sending you this meal. I got
Mhm.
you. And you place that one date on it, but the before is still so crucial. The after is
Yes.
still so crucial. Because there is that preparation and the healing that needs to come along with it. It's not just one day. It's not just
Oh
one
my
experience.
goodness. Yeah.
That is the day that they are being operated on, but it's
Right.
not that one day. And I think what you are providing with the support is incredible and something that is critical.
Thank you. Well, I will say that after the early experience with one of my children, and then doing the research and all of this, and my own processing, there was a lot of my own processing and healing that I had to do. Another one of my children had a medical procedure where they would be put under general anesthesia. And so my process was very different this time. Of course, I was like, okay, we're going to we had a lot of age appropriate talks. I didn't push anything when they were, open to it. We talked a little bit, and then would kind of just walk away when they had their fill for the day. But I even went back and I grabbed that like handbook that I created. I'm like, okay, have I done all these steps? And
It
that
worked.
was
It worked better, right?
it was really helpful. And it was funny because one of the steps was to show them pictures of what to expect, like as far as like the mask that they'll put on your face, and that doctors will be wearing a mask, and, have the thing they put on their hair. And so that was actually a step that I'd forgotten about. So when they were ready, I was like, would you like to see what the mask will look like that they'll put on you that will give you the medication? So, and then I would say it was about a week probably of those kind of conversations, just little tiny times. They really didn't want to talk for long periods of time about it. But finally, by the end, they were ready to start asking me questions. And there were some questions that I didn't know the answer to. So I wrote the questions down. And then when when it was the day of the procedure, it was, first of all, every doctor and nurse that we engaged with was so lovely. So very connecting. The anesthesiologist, took their mask off to show my child what they looked like under the mask. And that's where we were able to ask some of the questions that they had about the procedure. And it was really beautifully done. So my hope is that, and we haven't really seen big trauma responses, and has it been a year or 2 years? It's been a little bit of time. And so, and they've been to the doctor since, and it's gone well. So I think things went well for them emotionally, where that's what it's looking like. But it was really helpful to have gained all of that information that I didn't know, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I do help people with. I help for parents who want to talk before the procedure and want to kind of prepare. We can do that. And then part of that preparation is kind of preparing for how they're going to care for themselves during the procedure, because I had a whole plan for myself. Like I was walking, I was doing my breathing, I was doing tapping, and then how you show up for your child once they come out of sedation. This is specific, obviously, to like a procedure where you're under sedation, but so that's really one of the ways that I work with people, is to help them prepare so they kind of have their plan before the procedure. But then I also work with people who have already had the medical procedure and they've experienced some trauma from it. And what I also really want to talk about too, and I think that Operation Bliss does such a good job, like brings so much of this in, is hope. Because a huge focus for me is the fact that we can go through really hard experiences and we can heal. And we all kind of have our own little unique way that happens. Support is really pretty universal. We all need support, but that's really a big part of the work that I do is trying to bring hope to people that are in a really hard place. And I feel like what y'all do, it brings so much like support, and I just think it's beautiful. I think there's a lot of hope with what you do.
Well, to speak on quickly the preparation, that's so important. I know that that's something that you talk through. I think that's huge, because also when your child is going through a procedure, your logic is not going to be where you would want it to be. It's more
Yeah.
emotional for you. So having an actual plan in place is so key, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many of us go into this just thinking, okay, we'll be okay. Or I'm a positive Polly by nature. So I just am like, all right, but like the more I've learned, like there needs to be a plan in place. There needs to be
Mm-hmm.
that preparation, which is key. But yeah, on the hope element, I think that with Operation Bliss, that is our desire. We are here because we want to come alongside these families and provide them this joy and support, and let them
Mm-hmm.
know that they're not alone through this.
Yes.
And a lot of the families, most of the families, I won't meet them in person ever, but I hope they know. And I make it clear, like, I'm their prayer warrior. I'm somebody that's in their corner rooting them on.
Yeah.
We are there. I pray with their kiddos, with my kids, and say, hey, this family that we're serving this week, let's pray for their kiddo who's has a surgery going on tomorrow, and let's make sure that we check on them with the healing. And the
Yeah.
hope piece of it is so important, because it goes back to a little bit of what we talked about earlier. When a mom and dad or caretaker are taking care of their kiddo and they're going through this medical journey, it feels so isolating.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, and this is truly what multiple moms, many have reached out. It's like, it feels like the rest of the world is moving on. The rest of the
Yeah.
world is going day by day, but I'm here in this
Mhm.
hospital. I'm here sitting next to my kid, holding their hand,
Mm.
being a support.
Yes.
And it's hard. That's such an empty feeling sometimes to feel. And and as a parent or caretaker, you are there to be their rock. Really,
Yes.
you're there to be their rock and their support. But that is a hard thing to do when you also have that worry about your child, to make sure that they're going to
Yes.
be okay. And so with
Yes.
Operation Bliss, that is a big piece. We say, hey, we are here where you don't have to handle any of these details. Like, we just want to provide dedicated time to your family. All you have to do is show up. Show up. You're going to have everything planned. You're going to have the activities planned. You're going to be at this hotel. We're going to have the gifts. And we just want you to focus on that. We don't want you to think about the medical bills, or that you're there for medical treatment or anything, but just to be there. And, again, a lot of the feedback is like, we just felt like this normal family, that we weren't there for the hospital visit. We were just in town on a hotel getaway,
Yeah.
and we got to have in-room dining, like just like the kids have always seen in TV. So many kids
Yeah.
love in-room dining. They're like, we've seen this on TV, and we got to experience this activity, and it's this idea that, I don't want to take away. Yes, I don't want to be this full on distraction for them, but this idea to say, like, there is still hope to be had in
Yes.
this. Like, another day will come,
Yes.
and you will get through this, and you will continue on, and let's create some memories for your family, where maybe instead of just talking about the reason was this procedure or this particular treatment that you had, maybe you can say, remember that time where we got to stay at that really cool hotel, and remember that time that
Mhm.
we got to spend time as a family and we laughed. And it hopefully ties in and provides a positive element for these children to be able to refer to, versus just that really scary reason that they were here.
Right. And something else that made me think of when you were just talking about giving these families and these parents like a minute to just feel like they're just like things are normal, right? That they're not going through this really hard time. It goes back to the part of the importance of like the parents getting some care too. So, like those parents, I know they're feeling that love and support, and that helps them feel a little bit better. So, in turn, they're able to be with their child in that more relaxed way.
Mhm.
And that's a big part of helping minimize medical trauma
Yeah.
is how if the parent is able to show up in a more regulated
Mhm.
place, and that's not always possible. I mean, we're parents, and when our kids are sick or have a life-threatening illness or procedure, it is really it's too much to ask parents to be like constantly like have a regulated nervous system. But the more they can be supported and feel held, the more they're able to like just calm down a little so they can really focus on supporting their child through it. So
Mhm.
I think what you're doing is so beautiful, and I hope that you can even see like how big that impact is, and I think how like long lasting that is for the parents and the kids to feel like loved and supported, and to give them that time to maybe like slow down a little bit together and connect, because that's what we need. I mean, that's what we need when we're in a hard experience, but it's also really what we need after we've experienced something hard. And that's a really big indicator of whether something kind of hangs on longer and turns into PTSD is
Yeah.
what happens right after the event, like
Yeah.
right after the event. And so the more we can like love people and support them, the more it's like a ripple effect, really. So
And we live in a busy culture now.
yes,
Nobody wants to even think about slowing down, but that time, I mean, time and connection, like it's just part of who we are as humans. And so, really being able to set that up and provide this forced, dedicated time
yes,
together, though, is so important. And everybody wants to be seen. And I think that
yes,
that's such a big piece of what we say is like, we see you, we see that you are in it right now, but
yeah,
you've got some people rooting you on, sometimes strangers, right? But you
yeah,
have people who are here rooting you on. We see the heartache, we see what you're going through, but keep going, keep on
yes,
going.
yes. That's so beautiful. I would love for you to share with anybody listening, like about how they could get in touch with you. Maybe there's somebody that would love to be a volunteer, or somebody who would like to donate, or
Mhm.
maybe a family who would love to be served by
Yeah.
Operation Bliss.
Thank you. So I'll start volunteer opportunities. We are specific to Dallas Fort Worth now. Doesn't mean we won't grow later, but if you are local to Dallas Fort Worth, really from a volunteer standpoint, I always say we very much serve. Think you're behind the scenes. So where I need volunteers from time to time is really just to assist with some of those hotel setups, and it doesn't take
Hmm.
long. I have a good system right now where I order the gifts, but it's saying, okay, this family is arriving at this hotel at this time. If you could go set up the hotel and with the gifts and make it look pretty, it takes about an hour time. But
Hmm.
definitely, as we've grown with our family referrals and who we serve, I could always use volunteers for somebody to say, hey, I live in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I'd love to go set up a family. And a really great way to also do that is to even have your family involved. If I can share it for the families that allow me to share their story, it's a great way to say, hey, this is the family that you're serving. This is what's going on in that kiddo's life. And those parents can have a conversation with their children to say, this is what they're going through. We're going to serve this kid this way. This is what they like. Let's make it special. I mean, my kids actually love shopping for the kiddos whenever we are receiving more gifts because, my son who's in a Pokemon is like, I'll get all the Pokemon stuff or whatever it may be. And my daughter, if it's something she loves, she's like, I know exactly what this kid is going to want. And it's fun. It
Yeah.
makes it enjoyable for your family. So volunteering, that's one great way from a standpoint of, if you're a family and you're listening to this, we would love to serve you. Again, we offer a stay at a hotel. We offer local activities, food and beverage. It's an experience. So we're not necessarily a hotel lodging solution, but we're an experience for your family. If you have had a child that's been undergoing medical treatments for more than 21 days and the ages are 3 to 18, we would love to set up an experience for yourself or a family that you know. They
Hmm.
are welcome to reach out to me. And I always just start with a conversation with the mama. So if you're listening to this and you say, I have a friend, I want them to be put in touch with you, reaching out to me on our Instagram or Facebook. My email address is jessica@operationbliss.org. Those are easy ways to get a hold of me. And then we have a once a year annual fundraising event in November. And so
And that's
always
in
look for
November, you said?
November. It's on November 9th. That's our main event. That's our main date that we raise funds for the families for the entire next year. So Operation Bliss is 100% volunteer based. There
Hmm.
are zero salaries paid. I have a full time career somewhere else. Our board members have a full time career. Every single penny that we raise at this event is going towards these families' experiences and
Hmm.
going to support these families because there's zero salary. So it's dipping back into them. And so that one event that we have, it's fun. We have an auction, and that really is what we have to support us and get us through the next year to serve these families.
Very cool. That's amazing. I think what you're doing is just so beautiful, and so I'm so glad that we were able to talk today. And I just wanted to leave it open if there was anything else you wanted to add that you wanted people to know about the work you're doing. I know we've been talking for a while, so I think we may have covered it all, but I want to give you a minute in case there's anything else.
Oh, no, just if anybody ever has questions, a great way again to get a hold of us is through social or through the email. But I love what you're doing too, Sarah. And if I can just end on the note that um, if you hear this and you have a friend who has a child who has gone through medical treatments or is going to go through medical treatments or procedures, like it's so like be there for them, but also just think of these having somebody when you're in the middle of that. Let me back up.
Mhm.
When you're in the middle of that journey, um, it is hard to get everything together. So if you hear
Mhm.
this and you have a friend, like send this to them so they can then reach out to Sarah for that support because
Mhm.
I think that it's hard to think like, who do I reach out to? You're so focused on your child getting the
Right.
treatment that they need that you really aren't thinking pre and post. You're
Right.
just thinking of, okay, this is the day, this is what we need to prepare for. So I just want to encourage readers, or if you have a child who has gone through any sort of medical situations, don't underestimate what maybe is still going on in their sweet minds. And
Yes.
it's important to just even reach out and talk through some different pieces for you. Man, I would just encourage that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank
And thank
you.
you for having me. I'm
Yes, this
so
was great.
excited to connect and I love that we got to chat today.
Yeah, thank you.